And they're off. Welcome back to the Pikmin 3 Deluxe Any Percent Tournament. So on day one here, our racers will be basically just going through a tutorial of, teaching them how to play the game, how to interact with your Pikmin, all the things you can do, and in Alf's section coming up here in a second, how to grow more Pikmin. It will be very important throughout the rest of the run here.
Yeah, first off, you have to build this fridge, which you can speed up a bit by actually pushing the Pikmin around. Get them to move just a tiny bit faster.
Yeah, so starting off, we just have access to leaf Pikmin. By day 2, we'll start getting buds and flower Pikmin, which will be able to work faster. But for now, it's a little bit faster to stand behind the Pikmin and push them while they're carrying these bridge fragments. And once we get to the other side of the bridge, we will be collecting a bunch of pellets and enemies to increase our Pikmin numbers. We need to grow up to 21 Pikmin by the end of this day to push a box that's in the background there. You can just see it off in the background there on our racers' screens.
Yeah, so just lots of Pikmin growing for this day. You need 20 to push the box. You can get 21 at most, so you do just grow everything you can while you're in this area.
It doesn't really cost any more extra time to grow that one extra Pikmin, and well, the more Pikmin you have, the better, of course, so... There's a bit of a trick here. It looks like Anthony's going for what we call seed manipulation, where if you time how the pellets come into the onion just right, the Pikmin from the 5 pellet will actually sprout out a little bit quicker. It doesn't look like he got it very well. So now we've grown our 20... looks like Anthony only grew 20 Pikmin instead of all 21. But now that we've grown all our Pikmin here, we just need to break down this wall and then find our way back to the ship. that'll be it for day 1. Day 2 is where the action really starts to pick up a bit. There's a lot of multitasking going on right from the start, right when we land on day 2. So right off the bat, when we land on day 2, we're going to be building a bridge from a couple different piles of fragments, and as well as growing other Pikmin at the same time. So let's see how our racers will handle this section here. Alright, APerson being the first to land here on day 2.
Yeah, so many things to do here. You need to break the wall to your right, then break the other wall ahead of you, then build the bridge, grow more Pikmin. There's just a lot to do in this small area right at the start.
So our racers are actually throwing Pikmin across this unfinished bridge and telling them to charge onto that gate. Normally what you'd be expected to do is you wouldn't be able to do that, but you can just barely be able to charge them onto that gate from below, which will save time because you won't have to wait for it to come down later. And then on the other side of this gate that APerson is just about to break down, there's some bridge fragments, but also there's these 2 eggs that hold nectar, and these will... Each drop of nectar, up to 10 Pikmin can drink them and be upgraded from a leaf to flower. And flower Pikmin are able to run a lot faster than leaf Pikmin, so they'll be able to catch up to you a lot better, they'll be able to carry things back a lot faster. It's just generally better to have as many flower Pikmin as you can.
Yeah, and the runners most likely will be doing that, trying to flower as many Pikmin as they can before today ends, so that they'll have almost all flowers for the rest of the run.
Yeah, there are several more nectar eggs scattered throughout day 2. These were all added in Pikmin 3 Deluxe, they were not in the original version. So now we come across our second type of Pikmin, the rock Pikmin. And these Pikmin will be able to break these crystals and crystal gates, things like that. Unlike our other type of Pikmin, they will not latch on to enemies and hit them repeatedly, but instead they will hit them once when they're thrown with stronger impact damage.
Yeah, so with it, they can be really powerful, but it's also not great against bosses, for instance. Where
they have their uses when you need to do damage really, really quickly, but they're not really that great for doing sustained damage, like latching on and doing a lot of damage to enemies. So now that we have rock Pikmin, we're able to backtrack back to our landing site, and there was a crystal gate in the back there that we can break now. And that'll be making our way towards the boss of this area. The general time estimate for this game would be about 45-50 minutes for these runners. So behind this gate for APerson is our first boss, the Armored Maudad. This boss is covered by a bunch of crystal armor, so we have to first break off a chunk of his armor, and then, as we alluded to earlier, rocks are not quite as good at fighting the bosses and killing them, so once we break off the armor with the rocks, we'll be trying to charge onto it with reds to kill it off.
You want to try to not have it shake off your Pikmin by having the Pikmin attack for too long, because you cannot actually kill the boss while it's hanging to the wall. And if it shakes your Pikmin off, then it'll do a much longer attack.
Yeah, so if it tries to shake off the Pikmin, it'll go into like a enraged state, I guess you could say, and that just takes a little bit longer. So with the Maudad down, now we just have to wait for this phone to be collected, and that'll be the end of day 2. But while we're waiting on that, our runners are going to try to grow a few more Pikmin and see how many of them they can get flowered. Just to get as much preparation for the later days as possible. Looks like Anthony also not having too much of a problem with the Maudad. And APerson just going to pluck these last few Pikmin and ending the day. So at the start of day 3, our captains are going to be separated again. Brittany is going to crash land in this cave with yellow Pikmin, so we'll be meeting another new type of Pikmin. the yellow Pikmin can be thrown higher, and they can conduct electricity, which will be used to light up the interior of some of the caves, and we'll see that used in the boss of Day 3. Day 3 also has probably one of the biggest sequence breaks in the run. There's a huge out-of-bounds section that comes right away, basically, once we leave this cave. We need to grow up to 20 yellow Pikmin to push this boulder down the slope and break out of the cave.
Yeah, you're able to grow up to 25 here, so they will be skipping 1 to 5 pellets.
And so once we get out of this cave, we will be doing this out-of-bounds section. There's a specific wall that you can actually just walk straight up, and then there's going to be a lot of sort of careful out-of-bounds walking. You have to make sure not to fall out of bounds all the way.
Yeah, you can't go too far to the one side or you'll just fall out of bounds, respawn. You can't go too far in the other because there's invisible walls that will try to push you back in bounds.
And the point of all this is basically to make a shortcut straight to the boss. We should be making it straight to the boss really quickly on this day. A lot quicker than intended. You're supposed to build a bridge to get our uniter captains, and there's just a lot that's supposed to happen on this day, but we'll be skipping the vast majority of it. So once a person clips through this route, which can be a little finicky, looks like he's having a little bit of trouble with it. There we go. So this out-of-bounds section can be a little finicky. There's a lot of invisible walls that you have to watch out for. If you go too far to the right, you'll be on the other side of an invisible wall, and you are basically forced back in bounds. And then if he goes too far to the left during this stream section here, he'll fall all the way out of bounds and get respawned back in bounds again.
Yeah, so this trick that now Anthony is doing to just walk up the wall, that's new to Deluxe, actually. You were not able to just walk up it on Wii U. And that Wii U had to use an alternate trick that was much more difficult to get out of bounds here. So it's nice that this newer method exists.
So now for the boss fight, these wires here, if you toss 10 yellows on them, they'll light it up and stun the boss. And best case scenario, we'll be able to just do it twice and 2-cycle the boss.
Cool, a person pulled it off. Got the 2-cycle.
The amount of damage you do each cycle is dependent on when in the animation you attack the Phospat. If you attack at the wrong timing in the animation, you can do a lot less damage. So getting the 2-cycle can be a little tricky sometimes. Let's see how Anthony will be able to match that. Another thing about these lights is that the yellow Pikmin that light it up will be flowered as well. So you want to get as many of your yellows flowered with this as you can. Ideally, you can flower all 20 of them.
Unfortunately, Anthony ended up having some more trouble on the boss.
Just a sliver of health left. You hate to see it.
Alright, so coming up is our first captain clip. If you go to a corner and hold your captain and then whistle to put them down, you can sometimes clip them through the wall. And then if you dismiss, they'll walk away from you and then just fall out of bounds. And
the exact angle you have to aim to get them to clip out of bounds can be pretty precise, so it might take them a couple tries, but looks like APerson got it fairly quickly.
Yeah, they had to walk the opposite direction from where they wanted to go in order to hit a trigger that removes an invisible wall. So,
yeah, Pikmin 3 developers really love their invisible walls. So now we're getting to the boss of day 4, the sand-belching mirror slug. And in this fight, he basically has two attacks. You can go low and try to suck your Pikmin in, or you can pop up and spit out rocks. And he always has the same pattern. He always goes low for the first attack, high for the second attack.
yeah, since both players are playing on the new normal mode in Deluxe, bosses have half health. So, Mirror Slug will only get to do far fewer attacks here.
Yep, normally on if we were playing on hard or on the Wii U version, you would want to bring in some bomb rocks to do extra damage to the boss, but on normal mode, being able to get a 3 cycle is pretty easy. And now, just like on day 2, we have a phone that we have to collect.
This phone, however, is much more advanced by those standards of 2013 when this game came out.
And because it's so much more advanced, Pikmin have a little trouble grabbing onto it. Like APerson had a bit of trouble getting all 20 Pikmin on it. Did Deluxe introduce any new speedrun tricks? There are definitely some changes to the route that we had to do, partly because of tricks that were patched out that we had to find workarounds for. But there are some new tricks that are only possible in Deluxe as well. Alright, so our runners are moving on to day 5 now. And day 5 is the longest and most involved day of the run.
Yeah, it's also the day that introduces the game's villain in Louis. It certainly feels that way, at least.
Of course. So we're starting off right at the beginning of the day with another captain clip to get one of our captains up to wing Pikmin Onion early. Note we're taking out 83 Pikmin instead of all 100 because we need to grow 17 wings and we need the space in the field.
Yeah, a person had a bit of trouble with that clip, but it shows just how finicky those clips can be to get.
So we're tossing some rock Pikmin over here to kill this enemy and free up the wing Pikmin Onion. And now in this first section we need to grow 17 wing Pikmin and pull up the dam that will allow this side of the river to flow and let us go on to the back section of Twilight River.
Uh-oh, bit of trouble with that leaf.
Ooh.
So that's 2 winged Pikmin that died there.
That's unfortunate. Because it's not just that now we have 2 less wing Pikmin, but also you have less Pikmin to, to be carrying stuff back, to be working on stuff right now. So that's gonna slow APerson down a bit and give Anthony a bit of a chance to catch up here. Anthony seemed to have a lot less trouble with the clip as well. Alright, so APerson is going to be floating down the river here into the back section, and once we get in the back section, there's going to be another out-of-bounds trick to, yet again, get to the boss early.
Yeah, unfortunately they patched out the out-of-bounds method you use on Wii U, so we're going to have to use a new, different method to get there instead.
So instead of using Captain Clip or walk through walls like we would have in Wii U, we're actually going to be using a fruit. We're going to be moving a fruit out into the open and throwing our captains on top of it to help us get up out of bounds. Is there a zero fruit category? Yes and no. You do need to collect fruits to be able to survive until the end of the game, but if you only collect parts of a fruit, like only 19 out of 20 grapes, or most chunks of the watermelon, but not all of them, then it will count as 0 fruits collected.
So here you can see you can literally just stand on top of this fruit. So from here, throw up into the ledge. Having a bit of trouble with it though.
There was another similar trick that you can do. You can see there's a pink 10 pellet off in the background. You can actually use that pellet as well for a similar trick, but it's a lot more finicky with the 10 pellet because you can't stand on it. You sort of slide off, so you have to be real quick. So most of our runners are going to opt for the fruit method. It is a little bit faster as well, using the fruit. I forgot to mention when we saw the spicy plant. Back at the beginning of that section, there's this plant that grows spicy berries, and we'll be collecting a few of those throughout the run. And so what the spicy sprays will do is power up your Pikmin for about 40 seconds. It'll make them a lot stronger for quicker boss kills, and it'll also permanently flower them as well. So let's see if our runners opt to use a spicy spray on this fight or not.
So there's a spicy spray, so the boss died very quickly once it was used.
Yeah, you can see a huge difference in Pikmin's attack power with the spicy spray versus without it. So now we have probably the most infamous trick of the run, Louie Clip. We skipped building the bridge to get up here, but since we've done that, there's an invisible wall that we need to clip Louie through if we want to actually collect him. And this trick is notoriously finicky. A lot of runs end up dying right here. Yeah, sometimes Louie can just clip right away and he'll cooperate with you, and sometimes it could take a minute, 2 minutes, however long he feels.
Yeah, so no instant clip this time, unfortunately, but it didn't take too long to go for an alternate method there compared to what could have happened.
Yep. And a person just trying to collect a few more spicy berries before the end of the day. Because again, we have to wait for Louie to be collected before we can end our day. Right, and Anthony coming up on Louie Clip as well. Let's see if you can get the instant clip.
That was really good.
Not quite instant clip, but that's very, very good though. So APerson is just about to start on day 6, and we'll be meeting our final type of Pikmin, the blue Pikmin. Blue Pikmin don't have too much of a use in any percent. They're mainly just used for fighting the final boss. But we do need to collect them to remove an invisible wall to the boss of day 6 here. And yet again, we will be basically just clipping straight up to the boss. And now the boss of day 6 is the Myrclops, and there's 2 phases of the Myrclops fight. There's at first where you have to break open the giant crystal that encases him, and then the second phase where you actually do direct damage to the boss itself. Claris, if you want to talk a little bit more about how this boss fight goes.
Sorry, I was distracted by some internet issues for a minute. So yeah, just breaking that crystal first off to start the fight. It only gets partially broken. But now you have to attack the weak point in order to stun it, and that will send the boss slamming to the ground where you can actually attack. But this part is pretty dangerous because it's got a tongue attack that will try to sweep up and like eat all. So you gotta be careful to avoid that.
So this boss also has a damage cap at about a third of its health, but if it's gone far enough in its attack animation, that damage cap actually goes away. So our runners are going to try to wait to do that enough damage until after it's far enough in that animation, and then kill it before it can fully stand up and shake you off. And APerson managed the 1 cycle beautifully. So now it's Anthony's turn. Let's see if he can match that 1 cycle. Oh, unfortunately, Anthony doesn't have a full spicy spray to use on this Myroclops fight, so he's going to be at a little bit of a disadvantage there, but still manages to get the one cycle.
Yeah.
Without the help of the spicy spray.
Yeah, it's really good. Still managed to pull it off.
Even if you do have the spicy spray for the Myroclops fight, some runners still choose to not use the spray and save it for the final boss instead. So, getting practice with Myroclops without the spicy spray is always good. Alright, so we're coming up on the final day here, and this is pretty different from most of the other days. It starts off with basically an escort mission. You find Olimar passed out with the Plasm Wraith, and we have to get him out of here. So when you pick Olimar up, the Pikmin will go towards wherever Brittany is. And so we have to use that to find our way out of the Formidable Oak. There are a couple shortcuts that our runners will be taking advantage of. We'll be pushing a box from below, and there's a big out-of-bounds section in the second room, in the cave section here. Person having a little bit of trouble getting those yellows up to the box. But, gonna have to try again. That's better. There we go. Yeah, so during this whole section, the Plasm Wraith is chasing you. So if you go too slow and the Plasm Wraith takes Olimar, you're gonna have to fight it to get Olimar back. Hopefully that won't be a problem for our runners here. So now in this cave here, if you go to this corner in the back right here, you can actually just walk straight up this route, up out of bounds. And you can skip the whole puzzle of this room by just walking around it all out of bounds. One thing you do have to pay attention to with this out of bounds section is that you can't get too far ahead of Olimar, otherwise your Pikmin will just try to bring him back in bounds. So you gotta be a little careful and not walk too fast.
Fortunately, a person did not have any problem with that part, so now it's just a short walk to the final boss.
Yep, so APerson is starting the final boss, the Plasm Wraith. And so how this boss works is when you hit it, it'll sort of knock blobs of it off, and you also have to destroy those blobs, otherwise it can potentially reabsorb them and gain health back. After a minute here, it'll also start to spit out these elemental plasms, which are vulnerable to one specific type of Pikmin.
It'll also start to fly up into the air, so only winged and yellow Pikmin will be able to reach.
Yep, since winged Pikmin don't have an element they're immune to, you gotta give them a chance to shine as well in this fight. So you really have a chance to use every type of Pikmin in this fight.
And that's it. A person has finished with a time of 48:23.
Congratulations, APerson. Now let's watch Anthony finish up. He's almost starting the final boss fight as well. And it looks like Anthony does have a spicy spray to use in this fight, so that will help speed up the early part of this fight, get a lot of damage done on him quickly. Yeah, so which elemental plasma he spits out is random. Obviously, some of them are more preferable than others. The fire and electric ones are what you really want to see.
Yeah, the water and rock ones can only be defeated by either blue or rock Pikmin, while the red and yellows can be defeated by other types if you're quick enough.
Alright, and Anthony finishes with a time of 50:45.
So GG to both our runners.
Yeah, congratulations, guys. Great runs. Let me take a look at the bracket here real quick. Looks like APerson will be up against Ice Cube next. And Still have to wait on a couple more matches to find out who Anthony is going to be going up against next.
Pikmin, blueberry, pear, texture.
Alright, I think we might have APerson and Anthony in here for a quick interview. If we can get them in here.
Though not entirely satisfied, the explorers managed to secure a modest supply of edible matter for their home planet. Yet still they wonder, can this handful of seeds really bring salvation to the people of Kopai? Even if they carefully cultivate the seeds they've harvested, it may not be enough to support the entire population. This thought hovers over the explorers as they embark on their journey home. Along with their cargo, they carry with them a sense of unease.
Alright, it's looking like we might not have any post-race interview this time. So I guess we're good to stop the stream now.
Yeah, I suppose so. So congrats again to our runners, and we'll see you next time.